Good morning, students. Today in this class, I'll be discussing the expressionist elements in Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. I'll be talking about the general features of expressionism, and later I'll be linking it to the text, that is Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. So let us start. First of all, we'll look into the features of expressionism. Expressionist literature seeks to reproduce not the objective reality, as you know, it reproduces the subjective reality which people, objects, and events arouse in us. It depicts a psychological or spiritual reality through distortion or exaggeration. And it often presents the distorted, exaggerated situation as if it were completely real, which emphasizes visionary experience. And these expressionist works demand piercing the surface of things to reveal what is known as essence. It is often used as a means to explore how to transcend this material world. And we see expressionism replacing all those concrete particulars with allegorical forms. They use lots of symbols. And along with that, the conflict between individual and authority forms a key aspect of expressionism. And we see expressionism inverting the concepts of aesthetics of earlier artworks. It introduces the features of grotesque and horror elements merged with real life. We see that Metamorphosis takes the point of view of Gregor, thus maintaining a subjective perspective about the reality. Gregor's metamorphosis was a deformation of his identity as a human, which was once his reality. So, this entire aspect of a human transforming into a bug is extremely abstract. And to fathom Gregor's feelings, attaching an emotional perception to the text is extremely vital. And in so far, Gregor's physical manifestation constitute a translation of the interior self to the external world. And that makes this work, The Metamorphosis, a stellar achievement of expressionism. And we also see this distortion of reality, which is a vital trait of expressionism. It rejects the external reality and explore the subjective world. As you see in Metamorphosis, it happens from the first paragraph onwards. We see Gregor Samsa when he wakes up after a dream as a monstrous vermin. This distortion has already taken place. And as I said earlier, this conflict between individual and authority forms a key aspect of expressionism. This novella describes the strenuous relationship between Gregor and his father, who went to the extent of fatally attacking his son. So, this was a reflection, as you know, this was a reflection of Kafka's own life, since the bond he shared with his father lacked depth or understanding. This not only suggests that Gregor's life was a reflection of Kafka's own life, but it also projects the central role of emotions in the whole story. Kafka here dwells into the psyche and emotions of Gregor and shows how he adjusts to them without any inclusion of other superfluous details. And we see that All these expressionist authors constantly use this motif of solitude and isolation to symbolize freedom. This could mean that any works in Expressionism is a form of rebellion brewing in the soul of the author that in real life he or she couldn't do. And Expressionism in general grappled with the crisis of individuals in society. Expressionism fought with a rational and mechanized world where order was to be maintained in its perfection. So here in modern world, city becomes a site of alienation and fragmentation. Here, individuals lose their identity and they are governed by impersonal machineries and systems which alienates these workers, these individuals from their true essence. These nightmarish visions of individuals lost in bureaucracy and mechanization is also represented in Metamorphosis as you see the travails of Gregor as a traveling salesman. So, no scope is given for the dwellers of the system. As you see in Gregor, there is no scope for him to even contemplate or meditate. There is only a mad race to survive and keep the system running. And critics also point to Kafka's heavy handed use of symbolism in the story, which is also a primary feature of Expressionism. In the use of symbols and types, we see Kafka's stories often resemble parables, and some read Gregor's transformation as representative of Kafka's own feeling of inadequacy in relation to his overbearing father, in relation to his tyrannical father. And stylistically and thematically, the story speaks to the experience of many expressionist artists and writers who sought to find ways to express their sense of alienation from society and family, and it showed their quest to find meaning in a meaningless world. And like many of the expressionists, Kafka was also influenced by Nietzsche and Strindberg. So his writings, primarily novels and stories, depict an absurdist view of the world, which he describes in paradoxically lucid terms. And like Gregor Samsa, the protagonist of the Metamorphosis, Kafka's characters often find themselves in the midst of an incomprehensible world, which is consumed with guilt, and at the same time they feel alienated from those they love. So, as I said earlier, Expressionism inverts the concepts of aestheticism, which you find in earlier artworks. It introduces the features of grotesque and horror elements, which is merged with real life. This is evident in Metamorphosis with a monstrous vermin, and we have these grotesque details of this monstrous vermin dominating the whole narrative. Kafka's work is not to be pigeonholed into the category of expressionism alone, but traits of expressionism is so much embedded in this work that it can be touted as one of the variants of expressionist writing. So here I end my lecture. I was trying to bring the point that we can identify the expressionist elements in the text, the Metamorphosis. Hope it is clear. Thank you.